Hello, my name is Sawako Shirahase. I'm a professor of sociology at the University of Tokyo in Japan. I feel so honored to be invited as a senior sociologist at the fourth ISA Forum Sociology Professional Development Session. My special areas and research are social stratification, social demography, and family and gender issues. The main topics which I am currently working on are wealth inequality and the relationship between generation and gender gap and demographic transformation, that is the aging of population and declining fertility rate. So I work in the intersection of social inequality and demography. My recent publications include two books, that is Social Inequality in Japan and Demographic Change and Inequality in Japan, and various papers appears in professional journals, including social stratification theory and population aging reconsidered, and income inequality among older people in rapidly aging society, Japan. How did I become a sociologist? This is the main question to be asked in this session. My career as a sociologist started rather late. I started study sociology after I got into graduate school. I received serious academic training after leaving Japan when I finished my master's degree. I wrote my master thesis about families who took care of their bedridden elderly at home, adopting the framework of family stress theory. I collected qualitative data through visiting families with public health nurses and interviewed main caregivers. In the 1980s, early 1980s, the issues on aging of population and welfare system for the elderly started receiving public attention. After finishing my thesis, I strongly felt that I needed to study more about sociology. So I decided to leave Japan and go to the United States to receive sociological training. When I went to Harvard, I was not sure whether I should stay and pursue doctorate degree. But I was very lucky to find research areas that interested me. That is social stratification and quantitative methodology. When I was a visiting graduate student at Harvard, I took a course from Professor Ms. Sorensen on social stratification and gender. And I was so intrigued by the intersection of gender and social inequality. The other course which I was inspired was the quantitative method seminars offered by Professor Henry Brady, who is a political scientist and currently teaching at UC Berkeley. Thus, I met influential social scientists in the United States and started thinking of getting a PhD degree outside Japan. During that time, I happened to encounter influential writings by John Gothrop on social mobility and stratification. So I decided to move to the Great Britain and to do my PhD degree under the supervision of John Gothrop. The topic on my dissertation was about gender inequality, focusing on women in Japanese labor market from the theoretical framework of social stratification. I was able to receive excellent sociological training through tutorial system at Oxford. John Gothrop taught me how to ask good questions and construct sociological inquiry, and how to build argument logically. Thus, the encounters with influential social scientists were the key to the beginning of my career as a sociologist. However, I should add that I did not plan to be a sociologist from the very beginning of my career. From the very beginning, actually. I did not have enough confidence, first of all, because my English was not good enough to get serious training when I first went to United States. And furthermore, I had very limited sociological training. But all I had at that time was my strong wish and passion to learn sociology and have found out how social inequalities were generated theoretically and empirically. I always had doubts about, whether I could succeed in my career, but in retrospect, I think it is quite natural for a graduate student to have doubts about the future while still in graduate school. So graduate students should not be encouraged by the lack of confidence. Most of the people did not have confidence to succeed, and you are not the only one, I have to confess. When I returned to Japan in 1995, I got my first full-time job at the National Institute of Population and Social Security Research, a research institution attached to the government. I was disadvantaged in the job market in Japan because I was not trained in Japan, I lacked academic networks and connection inside Japan. I could only apply for a limited number of job openings. So I was lucky to land in the first job. The good thing in starting my job at this institute was that I embarked on new research areas. They are demography and social security research. Having trained as a specialist on social stratification, it was both challenge and excitement to work on these areas for me. Japan was characterized by late but rapid industrialization and the speed and demographic transformation was also high. I focused on the relationship between demographic change represented by aging and social inequality. As a researcher in a government research institute, I also started working on policy studies as well. So I was very lucky to expand my expertise at that institute and then continue to work on this field until now. The most difficult challenge after getting back to Japan was that it became increasingly hard to write papers in English, let alone publish them. I started writing papers in academic journals and books after getting back to Japan, but most were written in Japanese. The context of my research and work has become more domestic rather than global. It is quite demanding to keep publishing articles not only in Japanese, but also in English. So the pace in published English papers got slower and slower. However, I know that I should keep trying to submit my papers to English journals and present my research at international, meetings. When I go back to Japan, there is not much high motivation to get published because not many people asked, young sociologists to do so. So that time, writing, articles and books in English, were prioritized, to be, in the labor market, I believe. But now it's situation is getting better, actually, to some extent. And in other words, more pressures. There are more pressures to be published in English journals. But it is not easy to keep up with the international standard, but it's worth doing it. It's very an exciting intellectual activities, and it is fun to have international audience. Believe me, this is true. And finally, I would like to give 2 pieces of advice in becoming a sociologist. First, find your own research area. I found myself observed in interdisciplinary areas of social inequality, social demography, and social policy. To find areas of expertise that you could contribute to academic communities was a major thing for me in continuing my career. Second, make extra effort to expand international networks. It may not be easy to present your work in international conferences in which you do not know that many people, particularly if the English is not your native language. But do keep attending international conferences and make friends. That can give you valuable experience, opportunities to start collaborating work. It becomes important more than ever to collaborate research internationally. Most social problems are shared globally, and you can find your colleagues everywhere in the globe. So be active in presenting your research internationally. In that sense, International Sociological Association is one of the best places to do so, particularly because members come from different countries, and more importantly, there are quite a few members in attendance whose mother tongue is not English. So do not hesitate to take advantage of being early career sociologist. It is okay that your English is not superb or your presentation skill is not excellent. You can practice. You can make mistakes and correct it and practice. So more, importantly, senior sociologists, including myself, are willing to support you. You are ready to do so. So ISA is a good community to nurture early career scholars. So use it. I hope to see more early career sociologists taking part in the Forum of Sociology, World Congress of Sociology, and activities of the research committee, working groups, and thematic groups. In Japan, I'm kind of worried that it seems to me, young scholars nowadays are less enthusiastic of attending international conferences and are not active enough to expand international networks outside Japan. That is quite unfortunate, particularly because many researches done by Japanese sociologists, could be shared with those outside Japan. So there are quite high potential for collaborating research. So do not be afraid to go out to get connected to sociologists all over the world. So we all are facing very difficult, challenging time, mainly due to COVID-19 pandemic. So there are quite a few social problems and social issues, and there are many sociologists can do. So now sociologists can contribute more and more to the society, to the globe. So let us do sociology together.